Continued, Part 1. Stem cells of all the children are taken for sacrifice and used to repopulate the realm after the dust settles on the reset that just happened. After about 3 to 5 years, they have removed all the free energy tech from the visible landscape, hidden all the things they never wanted you to see, read, or hear, such as the bells. I'll come to that after, as that will digress me even further. So the people Christian saw in dreams and visions in his younger years were the people who will soon be running about on the EBS and fake alien invasion, and when they are hit with the EMF, electromagnetic frequency, or flash, 97% of the population will instantly disappear. Let that sink in for a minute. Say you were looking out the window on the EBS to a rioting city scene with military crowd as best as they can. There's 5,000 plus people to view. Let's say that you are in a block of flats looking down on a crowded plaza full of rioting people. A sky full of UFOs created by Bluebeam turns up, and these 5,000 people all shit themselves and disperse at high speed left, right, and center into over and under anything they can find. This could go on for a couple weeks even, likely less, but it's not going to be over the following day after it starts. Let's take the 5,000 people. When the EMF hits the planet, those 5,000 people in your hypothetical field of view will instantly be reduced to just a few dozen people. Think about that for a moment. A bright white flash lasting 30 seconds immediately after, for most people who remain here. If you were on your block of flats looking down at the 5,000 plus people in the plaza, after the 30-second flash, you are still in your block of flats. You are still in your current vessel. The only thing that changed was a fuck ton of ET turned up and apparently had a war in the sky with another fuck ton of other, apparently nice ET, and then everyone disappeared en masse after a bright white light. If you're a normal person, your poor head is still trying to process the red shoes from the EBS a week prior. For the last week, you have been sleeping rough in a metal shed because you are too terrified to go look for food in case you are abducted by the space aliens that you saw on TV before you fled your house a week prior, who you think are above you. The fact that you are apparently one of the only survivors of what can only be understood at that time by you as World War III involving China, North Korea, Iran, US, UK, combined with what looked like alien salvation, ET salvation. Earth's population made up of 97% and NPC who will evaporate at the EMF. Your head will be spinning, you will be looking at the same scene as 30 seconds prior, but during the 30-second EMF, the realm itself will change. There are layers of overlays in that 30 seconds, and you will see a lot of bleed through scaffolding, semi-pixelated buildings, devastation and ruin. You will be happy to still be alive for a short time, perplexed at your own survival, but grateful you didn't die in the nuke attack. What else could that bright white light have possibly been? The sky event will end at the start of the EMF, so there will be no blue beam UFOs in the air at this time, and none landed. You are running on pure adrenaline, just like you see in disaster movies, no sleep, and sheer terror. There will be other groups of people forming collectives, trying to work out what actually happened and why they alone are still alive. They will bond in groups and search for food together, more permanent shelter, and firewood, etc. Don't worry, at this time there will be no marauding gangs robbing people and raping women. That's what would have happened. You got spared that. Soul families wouldn't allow that to happen anyway. But after the event that just happened, people will be in severe shock, trembling, catatonic in many cases. It will be very quiet. No animals will be here, no birds chirping, no background noise whatsoever. All animals and children automatically ascend, as they have done nothing wrong, and their heads are not filled with pointless information that is affecting their judgments. Some children from loving families who are not NPC will stay. Don't forget that many children here are obviously also NPCs, but it's almost impossible to tell in children because they have no firm opinions that give NPC status away, as they are still learning the basics, and most likely they, like I, disagreed with most of it anyway. They also have no deep-seated pride to cling on to, no particular or defined understanding of finance and monetary value, and likely they are not too religious yet either. At this point in time, after the EMF, people who are devoutly religious will mostly have killed themselves or had heart attacks, or they are no longer religious whatsoever. because the EBS will make clear in no uncertain terms by its very nature and content that God clearly does not exist, or why did Allah, Jesus, God, or whatever religious deity they supported, how could that loving entity allow billions of children to be sacrificed for 30,000 years? The EBS will not inform people that, hi everyone, God was fake, just thought we'd let you all know. No, the unequivocal nature of the EBS, its delivery and content, detailing the people involved, which was basically everyone since before recorded history that has ever been famous in any capacity. TV, film, radio, advertising, sport, government, travel, industry, media, tech, science, law, judiciary, education, geography, literature, agriculture, politics, food, everything. Every single person since before the Dark Ages. However old you are, your favorite children's TV presenter from when you were a child, they killed children, as one example that springs to mind. Let's take David Attenborough. It's almost hard to imagine someone like David Attenborough or Sir David Attenborough flaying and killing children alive after he's raped them, boys and girls of all ages. It's well far out, yet shockingly true he was a Sir, and to become knighted, you must first become a 33rd degree Freemason. And become a 33rd degree Freemason, you must human child on camera before camera and video. It was witnessed by other 33rd degree Freemasons in judicial or respected positions, people who the public would trust without question. This is the glue of Freemasonry, documented atrocities committed against children, and held over the person committing the act as ransom for their entire life. Committed on a regular basis by society's most loved and trusted royalty, politicians, celebrity chefs, dancers, actors, musicians, newsreaders, police chiefs, education ministers, it literally involved everyone. People need to understand the shape of the earth first. When you can get there in your mind, and you know its true shape, the rest should be a lot easier to understand. There's no point progressing to the possibility of soul family or SOL family, because a SOL system is your immediate family of SOLs, souls, until you have worked out the shape of the earth. Just get on TikTok or YouTube and look, or just think about it yourself, it's not hard. The shape of the earth is the first stepping stone to any wisdom on the situation of the Great Awakening as a whole. I thought the earth was a globe at one point, the same as anyone else who knows the partial truth. Everyone who thinks the earth is flat was once a globe monkey themselves. The only difference is that flat earthers bothered to look for themselves to prove the flat earth wrong, not using Nicholas Copernicus, the child-killing Freemason, as a frame of reference, or NASA or any such agency, but by using obvious observation. This is all so easy when you have the missing jigsaw pieces. Those pieces are given for free by Christian21 on rumble.com, Sibley22. This is why we do what we do, because when shit like this starts transpiring, people will shit themselves, but they need not shit themselves. If they understood what was going on, they could relax. But those pesky 3 strings of religion, finance, and perceived knowledge will fuck them up and prevent them looking into Christian 21's information and revelations. But we do what we do regardless. We signed up for exactly this. There is no fire back home, no naked flames, other than you and the missus enjoying post-coital time in bed, lol, because fire is dangerous, it can burn shit and hurt people. There is nothing dangerous back home whatsoever. Nothing, no surprises, and no accidents. All energy is powerful and harmless, as it once was here many years ago. It's only since the Industrial Revolution, which was in fact the fall of Great Tartary, and not the beginning of a new epoch in man's story, but the abrupt and devastating end of a more advanced civilization, that the energy systems were inverted, big pharma was set up, the education system was set up, large-scale manufacturing was set up. When I was at school, primary school, not big school, and we touched on history over the years. The Oliver Twist era of time with workhouses and child labor. Up north in England, where Craig from the Dame, it was a thriving center for manufacturing. Cotton weaving and textile manufacture was rife and highly elaborate, resplendent in its overall appeal, tightly woven fabrics, bright and vivid colors, complex patterns, delicate attention to detail. The complexity of the machinery used to weave and create these masterpieces of artwork tapestry was beyond next level, and you see images and pictures of only children in workhouses. operating these complex textile weaving looms and machinery, and I used to think. We came from the Dark Ages to industrialized perfection seemingly overnight, with lots of kids doing the jobs that grown-ups were meant for, on equipment that is highly intricate, very exact to the point 0.5 of a millimeter, with mechanical processes and procedures that were automated. Immediately following the Dark Ages? Really? They were called the Dark Ages because it was Tartaria, a civilization of excellence that was ended by the concept of the rise and fall of civilizations. Civilizations do not rise and fall, they rise and ascend. Resets are the fall of civilizations, nothing else, and everything else is a lie to explain this fact away without the population noticing before the next reset, and it always worked for the parasites this way. Only ever did a couple of thousand people listen and actually make it out before the culling. No one believed us back then either, for whatever reason. There were obviously a lot less people and a lot fewer NPCs back then in those resets past, but they did use NPCs in those distant times also, they just needed far fewer of them to get the job done. What is the job of an NPC, or non-player character? Typically, an NPC is hardwired into the mainstream narrative, directly through mainstream news, or indirectly through more subtle outlets such as women's chat show discussions, tea and coffee morning chats in town, workplaces, or wherever. An NPC will only have mainstream interests usually, although there are exceptions and many subcategories of NPC. There is an NPC for every situation because 97% of the population are NPC, so we have fly fishing NPCs, deep sea fishing NPCs, motor racing NPCs, sport NPCs, awake NPCs. Every conceivable NPC is here with you, trust me. And these people are unwittingly there to derail your prospects all through life. Especially for now, their processes are always aligned with the consensus of their particular herd's interests, ideologies, aspirations, or lack of them, as the case may be. For the uninterested NPC, the Cabal had easy. They are so self-consumed with the past and anxious about the future, because they are so uninterested in their own life, or the life of anyone else, jaded by what they can't see, focused on what the Cabal, parasites wanted them to be focusing on, i.e. anything mainstream, and there is a lot of options. Look at any expert in history. What do they actually know about true history? Nothing. It was all lies to cover the previous Tartarian civilization. Myth and legend were all once reality. The parasitic inversion created its new designation of myth and legend. It's merely the truth, hidden with a label. The story of the Medusa's head turning people to stone is merely an allegorical revelation of the technology used to turn organic and also inorganic matter of any composition into stone. The serpents on her head, representing hair, are symbolic of the reptilian aspect to this technology. It's the same tech that turned the giant trees and also the other plant life, and also the giants, into stone. Himalayan pink sea salt is actually the crystallized fat of a giant's body tissue. People trying to dismantle Christian foe using allowed and accepted history and its historical narrators through all of recorded history. You need to remember is recorded by the victors, and the victors the parasites as a whole, Freemasons for the last reset, evidenced by the many hundreds of photographs of post-set carnage and pre-repopulation, photographs of the flattened land, crushed buildings. All showing a well-dressed Manor 3, with the hidden hand in the jacket lapel, showing the symbolic requirement to display their allegiance to the creed in plain sight before the Freemasons. It was Druids, before the Druids. It would have been another sect or clandestine society, obscured by secrecy and symbolism. In Greece, the oracle at Delphi, and the sages of Greek mythology, magic and occultism everywhere you went through those distant eras in time, which were all to lay the ground for their prized Final 8 reset, which you narrowly escaped. It would have been all over by the time 2019 to 2020 came. The world would indeed have only 500 million people in it, as the Georgia Guidestones explained in 8 different languages, now destroyed by white hat military as a clear sign of their intervention. Way back in 2018, I think it was destroyed. Those 500 million people would be on a repetitive loop cycle of birth, rape, torture, rape, sacrificed, birth, torture, sacrificed. Some people would work as slaves in factories, but it was the end of the Terran souls for eternity, and then the entire gateway would very quickly. All 178 worlds would have fallen defeated and morally weak, seeing the jewel in the Kraken in its entirety. Then world after world would have been capitulated, or been destroyed by the many more new parasitic species that would now feel safe to join. The slaughterhouse of Gateway 10. If this had have been allowed to happen, it would mean that source creation had failed, and evil and sacrifice would have won the war on physical existence. The entire system would need to be crashed, destroyed, and restarted from scratch. Billions of years wasted, so that's why it seems like it taking a long time. It's the very end of a very long process that started long before the parasites took control. 178,000 years ago. When you understand that the highest forms of intelligence were around and billions of years before physical life, and the fact that the reason that physical life was even invented was because these light beings, who are incarnated here now as well, and have been here for the whole 178,000 years, had experienced everything that there was to experience. They had invented, traversed, and done everything that you could possibly do without a physical body and a physical plane of existence. In the highest light realms, which came before the lower light realms, there is no physical plane of existence to mince about in. I must admit, I'm not sure how this was achieved before at least the creation of the cube itself, cloistering off the dark matter field. But thinking about it, I was with Christian last week in the cafe in Portsmouth, eating egg on toast and 2 sausages, and he told me how. Space isn't dark, Leon, it's just, well, very, very spacious, and it's bright white, not black. Some partially chewed sausage fell out of my open mouth as I coughed some egg back onto the plate at hearing this. It all became a lot clearer. From darkness to light is an all-encompassing term here. It means, in every way possible, darkness to light. I already understood the custodian tech, black void plasma being used to create our black sky, but I didn't realize space, or at least the dark matter field, was a bright white light. All people not in FEMA camps, i.e. concentration camps, which is what a FEMA camp is, basically just like World War II days, everyone else would be in 15-minute cities, social credit scores, and descent would lead to a one-way trip to the closest FEMA camp for torture and organ harvesting. You would have wanted it because of Nasara, Jasara, and the forgiveness of all debt, humanitarian projects to start or be involved in, med beds to heal the sick and reduce the age of the population, cleaning the ocean, feeding Africa. All this nice pushing back, it's so meek and humble, it's needed and necessary, very, very necessary, but true souls are so kind, nice, and accommodating. They mean no harm, they do not want to be rude, obnoxious, uncaring, or intimidating. They shy away from this area of interaction at all costs, yet society itself and the societal mechanics of personal interaction dictate a different rendering of experienced interaction, a forced and often mechanical or analog process. Because of the uncertainty, and possible and quite likely social ineptness that modern humans display through subtle programming over decades and toxic food, air, and water, their thought processes are severely damaged, derailed, and hijacked. The parasites even weaponized the humans' own nostalgia against them. A message for the 4,000, only approximately 2,000 of those 4,000 souls even woke up in time, so don't be too hard on yourselves. If you are curious as to what you have been doing in the last 178,000 Earth years, you will have been doing to this in the images below. I put these together as it's pretty much what I have been up to, not a great deal. We just had to be inserted in here before the system was inverted, remember what I said previously. The Sovereign Accord states that no field shall be overridden from outside itself once coherent life structures have self-determined harmonics within it. Guidance may be given and support extended, but choice, and thus consequence must arise from within. It's only now 178,000 years later that we actually have something to do apart from get tortured to death and watch our families get raped and butchered in front of us. So this is a refreshing change. After the first, second, or third loops here, none of the 4,000 knew what the mission was. They couldn't, they were mind-wiped also, but by the Arc Pods and Soul Family's oversight, as opposed to the Amnesia Vortex Soul Trap. No one could know the truth until September 2022, just before in reality. I normally get killed apparently, which is a shame. But collectively, our lives here on Earth have been similar to this. It's been really shit in all honesty, when you're used in 12th density in utopian Crystal Palace and shit flying about, drinking Platic water that energizes your vessel, using the aether to manifest complex technology instantaneously, levitating at will to any height needed, seeing into the future and bending time and space. Then you come in here and end up living like a barbarian for nearly 200,000 years. Well, all I can say that it has been very tiresome, hugely painful, and emotionally quite draining. We only had to be here for soul architecture, and the fact that we have family in here, and the fact that it is the single largest event that has ever transpired in the entire universe since the first primal tone echoed through the dark matter field a few trillion years ago. Nothing like this had ever happened before, and thankfully nothing like this will ever happen again, so how could one possibly refuse? Big love, people. Leon George Sinclair.